Hello, welcome. Yep, Discord is now unmuted, so you can talk.
Hello!
Hello, welcome
My arms
to
are janky.
yeah. That's the it's probably a VTuber dance move. We should name it.
Yeah, seems like it.
The VTuber wavy arms, the leap hand,
hmm
something like that.
It's a
Um,
symptom.
yeah. Uh, my old model had it all the time. It was with
I
a
just
gift.
unplugged it because I don't want to deal with it.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's
that
gonna do it far too often.
I'm fine with it. It's up to you really if you want to go for it. But yeah, I'll start the beginning. I'll jump right in. How you doing today?
Good. I did a lot of laundry, and aside from that, I've just been working on commissions mainly.
Oh yes, we'll get into your commissions at some point later. Uh,
Lovely.
but yeah, you are. I just realized I never actually asked how to pronounce it. You are emothic,
Emothic. But a lot of
emothic.
people like to call me Emothic, so I go by either.
I'm dyslexic, so I always read it as emo thick, but amorphic makes way more sense now.
A lot
Um,
of people, yeah, a lot of people like Emothic, and I just go along with the joke at this point.
ah,
It's
well,
supposed to come from a combination of emo plus gothic.
ah, I picked up the emo part, so
Hmm.
yeah. Um, I thought about moths for some reason.
Moss? Oh, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Have a little moth somewhere.
Moth girls are popular for VTubers.
Oh yeah, there's a few. Um, I can only think of Juniper off the top of my head though. Are they all wowing in the
Alligator. I swear I know like two others. I think there's one that's just named like Mothy.
Probably. That I only know one butterfly, which is a weird
Oh, you're
combination.
right. There really aren't butterflies, are there?
Is bug or bug? I think it's bug is how you say it. Just like a butterfly queen.
I know
Um,
that there's one that's like a wasp girl.
that's a pretty smart idea.
Mm, it's
Um,
very cute.
I'd hope so. I'd be more terrified of a wasp. But let's
No
talk about
kidding.
you. You are a VTuber. Normally at the beginning, I go through what I know about you. But I've actually commissioned you before, so I
Yeah.
know a bit. If anyone remembers my gaming overlay, it was made by this wonderful individual.
I
Um,
love making overlays.
ah, they're pretty good. They're quite. I don't want to say unique to VTubers, but VTubers
Mm.
tend to put higher emphasis on them.
Yeah, that's what's so fun about them is how much that you can customize them
Hmm.
compared to like if you have to have a webcam in a specific box.
Oh yeah, the classic corner box webcam.
Which is kind
Um,
of interesting to think about how normally it would be like a horizontal format in a box for a webcam, but with the VTubers, their bodies take up a lot of space vertically.
mm,
So we kind of have to reorient things.
yeah, try to put all the information along the bottom instead. Um,
hmm
but I never streamed before VTubing, so I don't
Me
really have
neither.
a comparison. Well, we'll get into that. I'm very excited to. Um, let's rewind time a little bit. How did you discover VTubers?
I had a friend, or I shouldn't say had a friend. Oh my gosh, we're still friends. Another VTuber named Katsumiya Wu, and you can find them on Twitter and Twitch. We became friends around 2 years ago, I'd say, a year ago. But they introduced me to VTubing just kind of when we were talking over Discord at some point, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I wonder how people do that. And then I didn't really like consider going into it myself until like a handful of months after that, where I found out about like kind of Vroid and how you could make models for free. And then I started experimenting with making my own.
Ah. So did you watch a lot of VTubers, or is it just more of like you were aware of them existing?
It was more that I was aware of them existing. Like I had seen a tiny bit of Hololive, and I had seen like small clips of Calliope from Hololive English. And then I think right when I had like started working on my model, or when I was nearly done with her, V Shoujo had formed like a group. So I had
Hmm.
seen like Silver Veil and Project Melody before, but I hadn't necessarily seen like all the rest of the ones associated with that. So that kind of like exposed me to a lot more of them.
Ah. I guess they that was probably around the boom time they had.
Yeah.
Uh
Well, if I recall correctly, too, Hololive only launched their like English series with like Gargura and Calliope and the other members only like a month or two, maybe 3 months before Bishojo had formed
oh
officially.
yeah. I
So
think
it
it
was
was
like everything took off around that time.
yeah, I think it was September was Hololive, and then Shoujo was November-ish, I think. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Uh feel free to reply to the chat whenever you want. Um I I don't get to do it as much in interviews, unfortunately. But
I'll make
hello
sure it
everyone.
doesn't come at the expense of our conversation, but I'll
Oh
send a
yeah,
few messages here and there if I'm able to.
no worries. But yeah, so if you didn't like watch them uh for entertainment, I guess you could say. Do you think any of them at least left some sort of impression or inspired the way that you stream or VTube, as some people like to call it?
Oh yeah, I'm sure that they have. I know my very first impression, which was like watching Calliope Mori's debut stream, I believe, when it was on YouTube. But I don't know. There's a little bit of like a performance aspect to it that I thought was really hilarious, but at the same time it didn't seem like she was like performing in a way that didn't make her feel genuine. So I
Hmm.
feel like that's kind of something that I learned from her and that I found when I was like watching other VTubers and streamers that I really valued, where I didn't want using a model or like quote unquote a character to take away from like me feeling like a human. So that was something that I wanted to make sure that I maintained when I went into it and what I hope to continue doing.
That's a pretty smart idea. You don't want to end up with being stuck playing a character that you get fed up with, or
Yeah, I just didn't want to worry about like breaking character, like, playing a
hmm.
video game and I'm like always doing a high pitched voice or something, and then I get angry and I'm just like, what are you doing? People are like,
um,
oh, it's not her.
the only time I've ever heard of VTubers putting on voices is when they've been like, "Look, this is my real voice. Do you like it?" And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we prefer your real voice."
Yeah, I
Uh,
know that happened with Snuffy not too long
hmm.
ago.
I think she may have. It probably helped her in the long run.
Oh, yeah, it seems like it. I think she started getting a lot more attention after that.
Oh yeah. I think that was roughly around the time she switched to Raccoon as well. So
Mm. Was she not a raccoon originally?
I I haven't seen it, but I remember seeing like pink. Maybe she was like a
Hmm.
pink something.
I always thought
Um,
a pig VTuber would be freaking adorable.
oh yeah, yeah. There's probably a few. Um, I
I've seen a
don't.
handful of cows and a few
Oh
sheep.
yeah. Ooh, we can get a whole farm of VTubers going.
No
VTuber
kidding.
farm.
Every single animal you can think of or non-animal, it probably exists as a VTuber.
That's the rule of the internet. Recently added, probably.
That's
If it
why I didn't
exists.
want to do an animal.
Ah.
I felt
Um,
like picking an animal that hadn't been chosen before would be too much pressure to try and stand out, and then after I would base myself off an animal, clearly someone else would come along at some point and make another VTuber with the same animal, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm not unique anymore." So I was like, "I'll just be a human and not put that pressure on myself."
it's probably a good idea. I'd started off as like a bat raccoon, but then I realized like there's only so much you can do with just being an animal, so then I added the whole fantasy
Yeah,
stuff.
I've seen people be a bit limited by it because it's like, um, kind of in terms of like their branding and design at least. It's like if they're a dog VTuber, they're like, oh wait, I don't know what to use for like patterns and stuff aside from dog prints or like milk bones.
Yeah, I've heard you should have two motifs. So you should have like the if you're gonna be an animal, have the animal you are mixed with like a job or role or something.
That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Business dog VTuber.
Oh yeah.
You can have a clipboard then.
There's a business orc
A
I've seen.
business org?
Yeah, it's like
That's
a
funny.
an orc that lives in an office or something. I've forgotten his name, but that leads us on to a good topic of what is your lore, or however you want to describe it.
My lore involves growing up in a haunted house. I lived in a house with a lot of spooky sounds and weird smells, and strange stuff that happened that kind of gradually got way worse the more that I lived there. But eventually it got so bad that we ended up moving out, and things haven't happened really that much since, but I'm always worried that they will again.
That's pretty good. I love it. Love a good spooky house.
hmm You only love it till you live in it.
Uh, I don't think I've ever lived in one that I know of, at least.
Oh
Um,
yeah, could happen if you don't know it.
uh-oh. Have you double checked where you are now to make sure it's not haunted?
Ah, yeah, there was one thing that happened right when I moved in here that was a bit freaky. But it hasn't happened since. So I think we're in the clear.
Oh,
When we moved in, I had this night where I was trying to set an alarm on my phone because I was working the next day. And so I set my alarm, it was like 7 a.m. the next day or something. Went to bed. And like a minute after I went to bed, the alarm went off. And I was like, why is this going off? It's only set. Did I set it to like PM and somehow it activated? So I went and I looked, 7 a.m., but the alarm stayed off once I turned it off. And I was like, okay, I'll just double check and I'll set it again. So I turned it back on, laid down again. And then a minute later, it went off again. And it kept doing that, which was like really confusing. And I kept, whenever I was like trying to reset the time on my phone and the alarm, I noticed it kept automatically switching to like 2 a.m.
oh
And
no.
I was like, why does it keep doing that? And it kept like tripping my alarms somehow. So I tried
Hmm.
restarting my phone, that didn't fix it. And at some point I just texted my boss and I was like, I might arrive late at work tomorrow because I can't set my alarm for my phone. It keeps changing. And they're like, okay, that's weird. Well, hope you figure it out. It started happening to my boyfriend's phone too. He couldn't set an alarm. We're like, is this like a Verizon thing? We both use Verizon.
Oh, is it?
Um, we eventually turned off our automatic time zone or like daylight savings time setting, and then that seemed to get rid of it, but it was really weird. The date also kept changing to like April a few years ago. It was like April 17th, like 2016 or something. Or like what
Hmm.
happened that day?
Uh-oh. Some
At 2 a.m. at this place.
some ghost with an alarm vendetta or something.
I guess so. Doesn't want you to sleep either because they never sleep.
No, it's delinquent ghost. Very mild hauntings of
Yeah, no kidding. I'd rather have that than like something standing in my closet.
Oh yeah, that would be super creepy.
There's a reason I keep a lightsaber beside my bed.
Oh yeah, what lightsaber is it?
One of the ones that like lights and shake when you hit things. So I figured, if I ever get scared, then I can just like whack and I'll be thrown into the moment. Just keep whacking until I'm safe.
Ah, yeah, the Jedi way.
Yes, exactly.
Bring peace.
Very peaceful.
Bring peace with a laser sword.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, they fuck with me. Oh wait, I don't know if I can swear here. Oh, can I
go for it.
swear?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
I
okay.
swear.
Oh, I should have asked that beforehand. I'm a bit of a sailor, but I'll try and keep it under reins.
All right, we'll accept any sort of sailors. Yeah. But yeah, you briefly mentioned before about how you started streaming. Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Oh, I do have a funny story, I guess. So I kind of like accidentally threw myself into streaming, where I had worked on kind of building a presence on Twitter and like my model as I was building her and stuff like that and getting ready to set a debut date. My plan was to start streaming and to become an affiliate before my debut, so I could like set some things up for the debut, like emotes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in February, near Valentine's Day, um, I had like gotten my dates confused, and I was like, I'll be ready to stream a week from now. Yeah, I can put something together. I've got the model done and the tracking and stuff. Everything's good. I just need to figure out how to like do OBS and Streamlabs. So I made an announcement on Twitter where I was like, Valentine's Day is going to be the first day I stream. Little did I know Valentine's Day was actually in 2 days because I got the wrong weekend.
Uh-oh.
So my friend Katsumi was like helping me do a crash course in Streamlabs. And they're like, here's what you need to set up. Here's how you do this. I was like, okay, okay, okay. But the Twitter post got a lot of attention. I was like, oh no. So I ended up just following through with it and just streaming like Stardew Valley. So it was pretty low stakes, but I was like,
Hmm.
wow, I really should have like looked at my calendar, not committed to 2 days from now.
That's one way to do it. Throw yourself into the fire, get it all done quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even have time to be afraid. I was just like, there's no time for nerves. I just have to learn how to do this and go live.
Ah, so you mentioned building your model. How was that? How long did that take you roughly?
A while. I was originally planning on commissioning her. Um, there was a Vroid model artist. I don't know if she does models anymore. There's another individual I found, and I was going to pay them to do it, but they ended up taking a very long time to get back to me. And in that time, I was like, well, I'll just try and like make the eyes or something. And then I made the eyes, and I was like, well, that wasn't too bad. I guess I'll just try and make the shirt. So then I just made the shirt, and then I was like, well, now that like half of the model is done, I might as well just make the whole thing.
Oh,
So I just went for it. The hair is definitely one of the biggest things and hardest things to learn when you're starting out because you have to animate it too.
hmm.
But I'd encourage everyone to at least, if they're going to be making a 3D model in Vroid or commissioning it, to at least try making it yourself because at the very least, you're going to understand the program's limitations so that when you commission someone for it, you can clearly communicate what you want and you know what the program won't give you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might just be pleasantly surprised and find out that you can do a lot on your own.
Yeah, it's very important for commissioners. Is it? Yeah, commissioners to understand like the limitations of the people they commission. But you worked in Vroid, was it?
Yep.
Oh, how are you how are you finding it? Are you still working on it?
I mean, I feel like it's kind of got a large learning curve to begin with.
Hmm.
So I probably had a much easier time understanding it than some people because I studied design in college and I learned how to use programs like Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, those sort of things. So some of the features that Vroid had in terms of like layers and drawing things and like blending options were things that I was vaguely like familiar with. although it was much less user friendly.
Ah.
um, but I feel like once you get past the initial learning curve, the world's kind of your oyster. Like you can almost do whatever you want with it. I mean, there's definitely some limitations, but it's really fun just to play around in. But
Mm.
I've already found that less than a year since I made my model. I started her in November, I believe, and finished her in January because I had to do it between working, so I didn't dedicate a ton of time to it all the time. Um, but between that time frame and now, I already feel like I've learned so much to completely redo and polish things.
Ah. So it's like um, a living project, if you will, of a you will
Yeah,
still update it every now and then.
definitely. Some people like to overhaul designs constantly. I'm not someone who really likes to do that. I'd rather do big like updates but keep things kind of the same, just more refined later on. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do with the next installment.
Oh. So how did you come up with the idea of your character, if you will, the theming?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So I do a lot of like, or I should say I did. I don't maybe necessarily as much anymore, but I
Hmm.
did a lot of like learning how to brand stuff in college or like writing stories and stuff. And I've done role playing since I was like 14 years old. I'm 22 now.
Oh.
So I've had a lot of experience with like kind of making and building characters. But I thought that Emothic would be really fun to be like my inner personality of like wanting to have vibrant green hair and be super tough and rebellious and like only black clothes, all that sort of stuff. And how it would be hilariously contrasted with my very innocent, very timid and afraid personality.
Ah, I see.
So I was like, I can bring all of my personality to the table, just being straightforward with who I am, but then it's kind of like people get a little surprised if they join my streams and they're like, "Oh, she looks like a badass," and then I'm just like, "Oh, me." So that's kind of where that came from.
Ah, I think it's pretty good. I don't think I've seen anyone else that have specifically gone for that sort of idea. It's very unique.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to lean like 110% into having their like personality align with their appearance more or
Hmm.
less, but I thought it'd be kind of funny to have the opposite.
It's sort of a selling point in a way. It's more of the I can't remember what the it's not is it juxtaposition there.
Oh my gosh, that's like the number one designer buzzword. Yes,
I,
juxtaposition.
yes, that's it.
I could get a quarter for every time I heard someone say juxtaposition in college. I'd have paid off my student debt by now.
Wow, that's a lot. But yeah, I think having that sort of different element between the personality and the looks is probably quite refreshing in a way.
Hmm, that's a comfort to hear.
Ah. But yeah, so you mentioned you've got some more updates coming for your model.
Yes. I'm planning to do a little bit more of a cartoony style, I guess. Um, I kind of just went with like very default stuff with starting this model, kind of the one I'm currently using. It's a little bit refreshed since the very first one that I made. But I always think it's better to start with something and to refine it later than to hold yourself back because you don't feel like it's good enough yet. So next time, I'm hoping to maybe release the other model during like a subathon event.
Ooh.
But it's gonna have thicker like outlines around all of it. I'm updating like the eyes so they're a little bit less flat, a little bit less Pokemon Sun and Moon 1,000 yard
Yeah.
stare. Yeah, and just like I don't know, brushing things up a little bit. Probably gonna have a new hairstyle, maybe a new outfit.
Ooh.
Nothing too crazy. Won't be becoming like an anime or not an anime. We're already there. I won't be becoming an animal combination or anything like that.
Hmm. Just like a a refresher, I guess you could say, rather than a
Yes.
different model. Um,
Another version, if you will, I guess, in the virtual space. Emothic
ah,
3.0.
ooh. I think I saw you posted some
Oh
pictures on
yeah,
Twitter, and it looked
I'm
kind of
having fun.
cell shading ish.
Yeah. And I think that's really helpful if anyone decides that they want to make their own model too, is like not only A, are you learning a new skill, B, doing it for potentially free or low cost, but also C, you immediately get tons of free material that you can use for marketing yourself on like Twitter, Instagram, etc., because you can post your in progress stuff. People love to see that.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that want to see behind the scenes of stuff.
hmm
Um, I think a lot of what we call corporate tubers, or the higher ups, the big boys. Um, they tend to keep it all very professional and
Yes, less
upfront.
transparency.
Yeah. So the smaller ones, you get that
Yeah.
nice look.
And I'm more than happy to help people learn too. It's helpful now that I've announced like commissions because I can kind of like promote myself just by sharing the work that I'm doing on my own model. But if anyone you know is like, how do you get that? Then I could help them figure it out.
Ah. You thought about making some sort of tutorial or information sheets or something?
uh, I'd love to, but at the same time, I can make videos like YouTube videos and stuff and tutorials and walkthroughs. But I don't think that inspires me nearly as much as like doing commissions and stuff.
Mm.
Or even necessarily streaming. Like, I have the skill to do it, but something about the editing process when it comes to videos just kind of like drains inspiration from me.
Oh
So I
yeah.
don't know that I would do tutorials unless they were live. I love streaming working on art live, and I might be doing that this Monday, but something about
Ooh.
having to like do it all and then edit it all in a video and then upload the video, I don't know. Seems like way more work to me.
It's definitely a lot of work, especially if it's only like one part and you have to do it all over again for the next video.
Yeah, well, especially with art too, is like if you're working on something for hours, how are you gonna remember when you like made a funny joke somewhere in that 4 hour stream?
Oh
Like
yeah.
you have to hunt for it all. You can watch stuff at like times two speed or whatever, but man, it's still hard.
I'm not sure how people
Greetings,
remember.
champion.
Oh, hello, Gamerpedia. I need to turn the volume down on my notifications because it scares me every time. Um,
Gamepedia knows absolutely everyone.
do they get around?
Oh, they followed. Yeah. Um, I think they know Alexander Moo, Fox Lane. I don't know.
Ah,
Lots of VTubers.
should call himself VTuberpedia instead.
Honestly, that should be a spin-off. We're playing Pathfinder tonight, though.
Ooh.
He's our DM.
Ah, there's I know a little bit about DMing. It's a good job. Respect your DMs.
Mm, I'd be
You'll
intimidated by it. I love writing the story, but the performance aspect definitely scares me.
you can adjust it to however you want. You don't necessarily have to perform. Um,
There's a
everyone
lot
has
of
a different
improv
style.
to it, though. Like your characters, you can be like, okay, here's a merchant and he wants to talk to you about, and then your character or your players will just be like, let's kill him. Like, I don't know how to tell you about the story now that you just killed my receptacle for information.
Oh yeah. Improv and planning. You got to get that right balance as a DM.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I forgot where I was going now. But role playing is pretty good.
I do online role playing, written role playing a lot more than I do sort of D&D, like sit down round table role play.
Oh yeah, especially since the pandemic, I imagine it's a lot harder now to
Mm,
do that
it
stuff.
can be. There's like tabletop simulator and Roll20 and things that exist online. Sometimes I can actually make sessions more efficient because people aren't just distracting each other and running around a space or like eating food and stuff.
Hmm. How do you prefer it ideally?
Mm, I've always had fun doing in-person sessions, but like I said, I feel like there's not as much that gets done, so like it can take months or even years to get far in a campaign, and usually, in my experience, the campaign just kind of sizzles out before we even get to that point because people get busy and can't meet up for sessions anymore.
Yeah, the bane of role-playing games is scheduling.
Oh yeah. Imagine it'd be a lot easier in like high school, but as everyone being working adults and some people with like kids and stuff,
Hmm.
definitely gets hard.
I guess why that's why most parties tend to be people that either like work together or live very close together, uh,
Mm,
where they just have a time they're all free at the same time.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, you stream some art. You've mentioned that. What sort of games do you stream? Because I've seen you do quite a variety.
Yeah, I'd say if anything, I'm probably a variety streamer just because, like, I don't really want to put myself in a box of, like, I was originally going to just do horror games because I thought people would enjoy me getting scared by things, but I was like, well, I don't really love being scared shitless all the time.
Hmm.
So maybe I should play something relaxing like Stardew Valley once in a while. So I kind of just do whatever I'm curious about playing. I'll like choose my streams kind of based on how packed my schedule is and how stressed I might be. So if I'm having a really busy week with like work, doing my day job, I'll do like Stardew Valley and like all these relaxing games because I don't want to be worried about trying to learn a new game.
Hmm.
Um, if I'm busy with like commission work or doing that sort of thing, maybe working on my model, I'd rather do like an art stream because then it's kind of killing two birds with one stone where I can get my work done, but then people can also come in, learn about like Vroid. We can just talk, that sort of thing. But mainly I'd say I kind of like play all of the games I missed out on not having a PC until November. Because I've been a console gamer all of my life until then.
Ah.
So it's like, wow, I can play Portal 2 now. I can play like BioShock and stuff. Because like you could play those on consoles if you wanted to buy every single $400 console.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, so it's catching up on a lot of that stuff, and actually playing online multiplayer games for the first time is really nice because I only ever played like single adventure games. I never really got to play video games with other people. So that's really nice to do now.
Ooh. What's your some of your recent favorites you've enjoyed playing?
I want to get better at Dead by Daylight, but it was so stressful starting out because I didn't feel like they taught me enough in the tutorial, so I was messing up a lot. And like a lot of people want to watch that game for skill, so I feel
Hmm.
like I can't quite deliver on that, especially yet. But I've really enjoyed Deep Rock Galactic for multiplayer. I swear one other Sea of Thieves I've been liking a lot recently too. Kind of any game where it allows for you to play and have fun and there's some challenge to it, but at the same time there's plenty of like breathing room for just having conversations with people because that's kind of ultimately what I'm interested in is more of talking to people but also playing a game while we do it.
Those are definitely the best multiplayer games to have instead of just forcing you to play level after level very quickly.
Oh yeah, because then it can be hard to keep up. Like if you're playing with someone really experienced and you don't know how to do any of it yet, and that everyone's success like hinges on everyone being good at it.
Hmm.
That can be very difficult.
I also like the games that allow people to just drop in and drop out, so that you can just play with like one or two of you, or like four if you have another two, instead of just waiting for everyone to be around at the same time to continue.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
Uh,
anything that allows it from being like two to, X amount of players is pretty nice. Where there's some wiggle room, it's not, you don't have to have consistently the same amount.
yeah, you don't have to be like, oh, we want to play, but like Trevor's gone on holiday or something. But what are some games you're looking forward to streaming in the future?
Ooh, I'm really excited to get into BioShock because I've heard it's a really good series. And I think it'll just be like a really fun balance between like single player story game and adventure, but also a little bit of horror, a little bit of shooter aspect to it. So that one I'm really looking forward to. I know, or I've heard at least, that like story games generally don't perform well with streaming, but those are probably the ones I'm a little bit more interested in playing. And I'd kind of rather just play what I want. If anyone's interested in that, they can come watch.
Mm.
But I really love indie games too. So like even if I can do like a quantity versus quality of indie games and play like a bunch of short indie games, that'd be so much fun. So that's probably what I'll do more of for streaming, at least in the future.
Yeah, being like invested and enjoying the game, I think, is more important than playing a game you don't enjoy.
Oh yeah,
Um,
your audience can tell.
mm, definitely. I've seen
You're
some
playing
people.
Minecraft for the 200th time and you're not enthused about it anymore. Ah, we found diamond. Wait, diamond's I guess actually pretty important in that game. I don't know. I
Where it
haven't played
was,
Minecraft more than like one.
uh, it's, I mean, it's sort of like Marmite, where, oh wait, you don't have Marmite in the US.
Marmalade?
Marmite, it's a yeast spread, which has the saying of you either love it or you hate it. There's no in
Sorry,
between.
yeast spread. I know how yeast smells and vaguely how it tastes when, because I've made some like bread before.
Mm.
What would it be if it's just a
Uh,
spread?
is it yeast or is it wheat? I can't remember. It's like this black
I imagine
stuff.
wheat would make a little more sense than yeast.
Yeah,
I mean, yeast is a live bacteria. I mean, I guess no, because it dies when you make bread.
it's like yeah, like salty honey in a way. It's
Hmm.
sort of sweet, but it's mostly savory. I have no idea how to describe it. Do you know Vegemite?
Huh. So almost kind of like in the same vein as peanut butter then, because I've heard Vegemite's kind of similar.
Yeah, yeah. Vegemite is very close to
Yeah.
Marmite. So um, I don't know why we're talking about Marmite now.
I was just thinking about how every time we make bread, we literally kill like thousands of tiny bacteria.
Yeah. Well, we
That's
we
kind of
feed them,
brutal.
we fatten them up. They get a good meal, and then they're gone. We eat them.
Yeah. And then they
That's.
live inside of us.
I mean, we eat plants. They're also alive.
That's true.
I think pretty much everything you eat is alive apart from salt.
Yeah, it's like it's weird though, because like yogurt, I know is one of those things where like you eat it for the probiotics, but I'm pretty sure probiotics are just live bacteria, so it's like
Oh
you're
yeah, yeah.
especially ingesting it for them.
Stuff for your gut, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I've heard.
There's all sorts down there. I try not to think about it.
I
Um,
know.
I think
At a
there's more.
submolecular level, constantly replicating itself and dying off.
Damn, that's all we are. Just recreations of our old self from.
Isn't that crazy though? It's like, are you the same person every day when every day your entire chemistry of your entire being is changing?
Hmm. I think it's
Pretty
I think it's
weird.
7 years it takes. Every 7 years you are completely new, every single cell.
Yeah.
Uh,
But like you still think, more or less the same. You have all your memories still. How the hell does
hmm.
that happen?
Uh,
How do
well,
they translate your memory?
once we find the secrets of the brain, we'll work it out.
Man, that's
Um,
gonna be a ways off.
unless your memories are
Consciousness, I
not
think, is one
cells.
of the least understood things. We still have a hard time understanding dreams and stuff because of that.
Hmm. Uh, oh. I mean, I think the main theory about dreams is that they're your brain trying to solve problems, but
While
why
you're
do
asleep.
why are they so fucked up?
Yeah,
Is
there's some
the
really weird
problem?
dreams.
Why do I keep
I
dreaming about snakes biting me? I don't know.
God, literally all my nightmares. Always snakes. I hate it. Or tornadoes. Tornado snakes are something that's like inconceivably like gruesome. Where I'm like, how the fuck did my mind come up with that? I literally have never seen that. That's concerning.
Well, I guess technically mentally you'll be ready for it. Uh,
I guess.
for the snake tornado that will
Oh my
happen one day.
god. I'd find a way to end myself right then and there. Doesn't matter if I have the resources, I will cease to exist.
Had it. These goddamn snakes and this goddamn tornado. I don't know if the
So
snakes would
awful.
survive.
Snake-nado. I don't want to think about it. I swear I've probably had a nightmare about this before.
Oh, well, let's move swiftly on. Um, so yeah, you've got new games you want to play. You've got model updates you want to work on. Is
Mhm.
there anything else you're planning on in the future, like any sort of new mode of content or something like that?
Oh, so many things. I have so many things that I have plans for and hopes to do that I can never keep up with because it's one step at a time. And there's so many things that you have to do behind the scenes before you even get to the point where you share it with other people.
Hmm.
But I would say aside from launching the model once I revise her, which I guess is probably the next thing, I really want to do light whip dance videos. That's kind of my new passion, which I should probably start by asking, do you know what that is? Do you know what light whips
Uh,
are?
I think I saw a video you posted a while back on
Oh, yeah. So they're
TikTok.
basically, if you know fiber optic strands, which are basically like tiny glass tubes, and they shoot the light through them. They usually change colors between like a rainbow pattern. A lot of people like to use them for like Christmas decorations.
Hmm.
But anyway, those. There's like whips that are made with like entire uh clusters of strands made of those. So there's just like 100, 200 tiny glass tubes. Um, and the fact that you use it for dancing and like twirl it around at high speeds means that it can be very dangerous and you can actually like accidentally cut yourself with the strands.
Uh-oh.
So, when I dance with it, I have to have like completely covered limbs, so like sleeves, pants. I have to always wear eye protection, like safety glasses, because that is not going to be fun if your eyeball ever gets lacerated. So we're going to avoid that.
Not ideal.
Um, yeah, but I plan to do stuff with that very soon. I recently got in some tops that I can wear for it that will cover my arms, but they're also mesh, so like my skin won't completely burn beneath them because
Hmm.
it's definitely a very exhaustive exercise. But yeah, so I've been practicing with that, and I plan to do some videos with that. Probably gonna be more focused on YouTube and TikTok. Definitely won't be streaming that because I'm gonna get way too tired way too quickly, and it's just gonna be a bloody, sweaty mess of me trying to dance, and no one wants to see that.
Oh no.
But yeah, so aside from doing dancing fairly soon, I'm pretty confident in saying that I will be releasing that sort of thing by the end of the year.
Ooh.
I'll probably really just kind of launch off into doing more real life stuff. So my plan is to cosplay as my model and then do real life content.
Oh.
We'll see how long that lasts. I'll probably eventually get sick of that and then just show myself, but make it a little bit less jarring from people who come here to see me look like this.
You never
Um,
know.
but yeah, so then maybe like cooking, baking streams, nature hike stuff. Oh, what else? I made a list here. Oh, I guess that's all I wrote on my
Uh,
list. That's not helpful. Yeah, so just doing more outside of the bounds and restrictions of having a 3D model that you have to sit in front of a computer and motion track.
hmm. I think it all sounds pretty good. You got a lot on your plate to work on. It's
Oh
good to
yeah.
have goals and stuff. Um, if you ever get VR and body tracking stuff, you could try I think there's some light whips in VR chat, so you might be able
Oh,
to
really?
use some virtual light whipping, but I don't know how well that'll be.
Yeah, because I've even thought about that too, because, my original idea, of course, was like, oh, well, I don't have to share myself. I can just get a $2,000+ motion tracking, and then I'll just completely build a 3D model of a whip, and then I'll track every individual bone for every single fiber of it. And somehow, when I'm recording myself, my camera will be able to understand that the light it is seeing moving at high speeds are individual objects that it can track. And I was like, okay, this is very quickly becoming a runaway thing that I
Yeah.
cannot do feasibly. So I'm like, I have financial limitations, I have time limitations, et cetera, et cetera. This isn't practical. I can just do it in person. I can just cosplay. People might
Yeah.
think that's more interesting. I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. I'm not sure how it'll be received. But I don't think I have frequently seen, or maybe even ever seen. I kind of doubt that. But VTubers doing like really both. I know one VTuber who does some like adult content along with doing Twitch streaming, but
Hmm.
aside from him, there's really very few people that I've like seen making stuff outside of their VTuber model that also consider themselves to be VTubers.
I can't remember her name. There's a Texas bunny who does basically, I think it's like 50% IRL streaming, 50%
The Texans
YouTube.
then, because Alexander Moo, he's the man I was thinking of. He does
Ah,
Twitch streaming and he also does other content, so he's from Texas as well.
maybe it's a Texas thing of
Old ones down there,
yeah, they're
ready to
like
show their faces.
they're getting out there. I'm trying to think if I know any others. I don't think
It's not
so.
very frequent.
No. Well, I think that's what draws people to VTubing is being able to hide yourself, I suppose.
Yeah, which can be like super beneficial, but also like definitely limiting. I
Hmm.
think it can be. I've noticed that the VTuber community is like a really welcoming and very fruitful space for like LGBTQIA members, because they're able to make a model that more accurately portrays like what they want to be seen as and like who they feel that they are, and they can do that without the fear of like ridicule necessarily from people looking at them and judging them. So
Hmm.
I think that's definitely a huge benefit from it that we've seen. But yeah, like I said, there's definitely a big financial kind of obstacle that people have to get over in terms of like you got to buy a webcam, not necessarily like a mic, but there's some technological skill that is also required behind it, or the money to pay people to do it for you. So
Yeah.
that can be
It's
a bit of a barrier.
you can like definitely start like basically for free. You can either go with
Mm-hmm.
like just a Vroid or
PNG
uh
tubers, good way to
yeah.
start.
There's some really good PNG tubers if you know all
Mm-hmm.
the hotkeys and stuff. Little S is a snake who
Oh,
uh is an amazing PNG tuber.
I'd love
Uh,
to see them. They can be
uh,
very expressive too. Like if they just switch between images for expressions, that can do a lot.
I heard it's foot pedals is the secret. Um,
What is?
foot pedals.
Foot pedals.
So that's how they managed to game with a controller, and
Wow.
also managed to control their model and stuff.
Damn, might as well learn like drums after you get that figured out.
Yeah, uh,
Jeez.
feet stuff.
No
Um,
kidding.
I don't know why feet stuff always comes up in my my streams. Um,
VTubers and feet stuff are basically a Venn diagram meeting perfectly at the center.
oh yeah. It's the yeah. I guess that's the part of the anime aspect maybe coming in.
Perhaps.
Because almost everyone in VTubing is connected to anime in some way, shape, or form.
A
Um,
lot of not safe for work creators as well.
mm,
So, feet can be involved with that for a lot of people.
yeah, there was definitely that foot trend that's still
Uh-huh.
going, which I'll never join in on. I refuse.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
It's better than I think the current trend is collars, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd heard everyone talking about it, but it's funny because I've only seen like 3 people with images involving with it. It was mostly just like people commentating on how it was a thing, but all of the
Oh,
people commentating on how it was a thing made it so I didn't ever really see images of it actually happening.
I've seen
It's
like
funny.
20 yesterday. I
Oh,
think
really?
what usually happens is somebody does something that's cool, then somebody releases free assets for it, and then
Oh, yeah, yeah.
everyone
Well, now
does their
that
own.
everyone can do it, then it's
Yeah.
not cool anymore.
It's I think jail is the latest one.
Jail?
Yeah. Some people call it horny jail. Some people are just
Oh.
like, are you just in jail? Um,
Mm.
I try not to look too deep into it. So
Me neither.
just that's cool. Move
There's
on.
things I observe and then just keep scrolling past.
Oh,
Uh,
when are we getting a wholesome trend? Like here's my breakfast.
Here's my breakfast. Want me to start that tomorrow? I
Sure,
can
go
see
for
how
it.
far it goes. VTuber trend. Here's my breakfast. Let's see.
VTuber breakfast. There was VTuber thighs, VTuber shoes. I guess that led on to VTuber feet.
Yeah, somehow, some way we get there. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
When are we getting VTuber elbows? That's what I want.
Oh, VTuber weenus. Good question.
Ooh, now we're talking. Um,
I know they would call it that too.
oh yeah, definitely.
Uh,
It's always got to be the weenus. Um, but yeah, we've got onto the topic of anime. Are you a massive fan of anime? Are you just a partial partaker?
oh, let me tell you, back in my day, I was a pretty dedicated weeb. I find myself having a lack of time as an adult. But let's see. Started getting into anime around the time I was 14. Very quickly started going to conventions after that and doing cosplay. Didn't do that for too much longer because I started getting busy. Eventually, I want to try and go back to like conventions again. Maybe not necessarily anime. Maybe something a bit broader,
Hmm.
like some kind of fantasy convention or like comic books or something. I don't know. Um, but the only anime that I'm currently watching is My Hero Academia, which
Oh
I'm
yeah.
finding to be pretty good, but also very similar to Naruto. From what I remember of Naruto when I was like 11 years old. But aside from that, my top favorites are probably the Full Metal Alchemist series. I remember watching Eureka 7, which was a mech anime that I really liked.
Hmm.
Durarara, I think, is a very good classic anime. Angel Beats, I like a lot, as well as Skeet Dance, which a lot of people don't know about.
I've never heard of Skeet Dance.
That like framed my that was like a paradigm shift for me going into high school. Probably one of the better anime to take inspiration from compared to some of the others that might exist. It's basically all framed around a group of 3 high schoolers having a club that's just meant to help other people. And they get in all these very stupid and chaotic situations where they have to help other people with things. Sometimes it's like solving crime, sometimes it's like catching a pet guinea pig,
Ah,
sometimes it's like auditioning for something. It's just all sorts of wacky adventures. But I thought that was a really good lesson to learn when I was young because it's like, wow, I can help people and it can be exciting and fun, regardless of whether or not you get rewarded for it.
yeah. We should definitely have more shows like that.
hmm I
I think.
think the show had like 70 something episodes and the manga had like 200 something chapters. So I watched the show and then I went on to the manga.
Did you finish it?
Oh, yeah, it was good. Much
Ooh.
better in the show, in my opinion. The show kind of excluded, like, or didn't get into all of the major interesting plot points, which is very weird. Probably because it's a slice of life anime.
Hmm. There tends to be a theme when it comes to turning stuff into film form.
hmm
Is losing a lot of the interesting aspects, but you can't fit it all in, otherwise it'll just be like super long.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them, they get a season, maybe two, and then they're like, oh, this isn't actually performing as well as we want, so we're just not gonna renew another season. So then it's like you kind of have to go to the manga to finish it if you're interested in it.
Yeah.
And
But
then it's the worst when you go to the manga and the manga hasn't been finished.
No.
Like, oh, no closure.
I don't think I've got super far in a manga yet to finish it, but or even see if there is an ending. Um,
Mm.
there's probably some good ones.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, is there any manga films that you're into?
Manga films, like live action?
Oh no, sorry, anime films.
Oh, okay. I
Thinking
was
too
like,
much of
oh, does
manga.
anyone like the live action one? Oh
Ah,
boy. Um, I haven't. I mean, we can all agree, or I imagine most of us can agree. Studio Ghibli is a very good anime film studio.
oh
There's
yeah.
another one that has a similar style, but I'm blanking on the name of it. But they've made like Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time,
Hmm.
some other ones.
I think that's
They
a
make some really good
director.
stuff.
I used to follow him a
Director.
lot.
Oh, okay. They have a certain art style, so that's what makes me think that they're connected under studio, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, nothing that's really. I feel like anime movies are kind of like show movies where they're not nearly as good as just watching the show or reading the manga.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Because either they have an offshoot that like completely disregards or breaks what happened in the manga or show, or they just kind of don't have as much depth as like reading about the characters over a long period of time or watching that. But yeah, I'd say any like Studio Ghibli movies really nice and pleasant to watch, even though they're kind of strange. I really
Hmm.
love Ponyo. That's probably my favorite one.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I've seen a lot of the other ones.
Pokemon
Uh,
movies too. I love Pokemon movies way more than the shows actually.
ah, are
Pokemon
they?
movies I always feel like are really fun.
I assume they are still making them, but I haven't really
They must
paid
be.
attention.
I
Um,
haven't seen them since I think the one with Shaman that was in the Sinnoh region with Dawn, I believe. But
you
um,
got past me already, so.
yeah, but those I always feel like are fun to watch because it's just like you can tell that they invest more in like the animation and the stories are always like they begin, they have some drama and then they're neatly tied up and there's a good friendship speech somewhere in there.
Oh yeah,
I've
very important.
always found them to be a lot more kind of catering to like the fantasy of having a Pokemon that you can like be a trainer of or meet and stuff than almost in the shows where they kind of don't ever you know, talk about the Pokemon's relationships with their trainers much more than like a superficial basis. But then the movies, it's like they're almost close to dying, like every
Oh
single
yeah,
time, and the Pokemon are crying and the trainers are crying. Oh, this is so good.
the
And you see
raw
so many more
emotions
Pokemon.
there.
Yeah, and you see so many more Pokemon than you usually do in like each episode of the TV because usually it's focused on one.
Hmm.
Um, she's like, oh, look at all these Pokemon playing together. Like, look at these trainers with all these different types. So I think that's much more refreshing.
Yeah, I remember the first one coming out. It was a massive thing. But Pokemon was just massive back then, so
Oh, yeah. I'd love to watch that one again.
it was
Is
good.
that the one with, was it Pokemon the movie 2000? Was that what it was called?
No, that was the second one.
Oh,
Um,
was it?
uh,
Mewtwo,
yeah,
maybe?
Mewtwo. That was Pokemon. I think it's just called Pokemon the movie. Was the first one.
Okay, that would make sense, I
Um,
suppose.
then 2000 was like Lugia and
Oh, yeah, didn't they like remake the first Pokemon movie like 2 years ago? And it was a very different
oh
art style, but
yeah,
it was like beat for beat the same thing.
it was exactly the same thing. I tried watching it, but it just felt so lifeless. If I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest.
that's what I heard is that
Um,
like, the art wasn't conveying the same amount of expressiveness as the original was.
hmm. But apparently
I can
Pikachu
understand.
talks in it. But
Oh, really?
that was like
That's
a
weird.
big meme when it came out.
That's like giving Link a voice.
He does have a voice. He goes, "Hiya."
Yeah, but like, can you imagine if they ever? I kind of hope that they just never give him dialogue. Like, part of me is like, man, I'd really like Link to like have any amount of like emotion or writing kind of to him, but at the same time, I'm like, I really appreciate how long they've continued this bit of him not talking.
Does he talk in? I know there's mangas. Does he talk in the manga?
They give him speech lines.
Uh,
Or I guess the only one I'm thinking of is it came with like the collector's edition of Legend of Zelda art. I think it was like the 20th year anniversary or something, maybe greater than that. But yeah, they had a little comic in there with like the original Triforce heroes. So it was like the original goddess of Hyrule, more or less, and then like the original Link. And I think the original Link talked. So that was weird.
what if he's allowed to say fuck once?
Just once. I
Just
would love
once.
that, just for the meme.
Just like, oh no, sorry, Zelda's in another castle. It's just fuck.
That's all the line he ever gets. That'd be
Yeah.
hilarious.
If you excuse me, someone redeemed an armpit fart, which I always hope never happens in an interview, but always happens. But it's a bit hot here, so it's going to be a bit of a wet one, I'm afraid.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Brutal.
Oh, there we go. My hand is all sweaty and I hate it.
Oh
But
yeah, you said that you there's like a heat wave there.
yeah, it's not quite. I don't think it's a heat wave, but it is quite warm.
Ooh.
I guess you could describe it as a heat wave. All the flying ants are out and were going around. So
My AC went out about a month ago, and that was pretty brutal. It went out right before a heat wave.
oh no, that's the worst time.
Yeah, so it was literally like 100 degrees for like a week. Actually, almost 2 weeks. It was pretty insane. But we got it fixed after 3 days at least, so we didn't quite boil alive.
I'm always jealous of Americans and AC because they're not like having AC in your home is not super common here.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. There's a lot of places experiencing like heat waves recently that don't commonly have AC. Like apparently Seattle, I believe it was having an insane heat wave. It was either that or Oregon somewhere there. But Seattle's in Washington, right? Not Oregon. I don't know. But they I guess didn't have a lot of AC units, kind of like how Texas last winter had the cold spike, and a lot of them don't have heaters.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. There was
yeah.
something about how please don't use propane fires inside or something.
Oh yeah, lots of people that were poisoned from what would you call it? I guess carbon monoxide, maybe. Whatever would come from running your car inside the garage to keep
Oh
warm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's pretty sad.
at the very least, hopefully it's some form of lesson to learn.
Yeah, we'll see if anyone makes preparations for it possibly happening again, or if they're just like that was rare, it couldn't possibly happen again.
Hmm. My town often gets a bit flooded because we're like on a river.
Mm.
And they never do it. Like every like 6 months, we have a lot of rain. It floods. Like, oh
Yes.
no, we need money to fix it, and then they fix the damage, but they don't prepare for the next time.
They react, they don't prevent.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just what happens, I suppose, when money. Um,
Mm. Costs
yeah.
more to repair something that's damaged, I feel like.
Hmm. Uh,
Guess it
yeah.
depends.
I guess it depends if it's like actual infrastructure you have to mess with or not.
Hmm.
Um,
I know flooding can definitely take a toll on infrastructure, like houses and stuff, because the second water gets into something, that means it can mold and rot and
oh yeah, yeah.
decay.
We have a pub here in my town, which is very old and is actually gets funding for being very old. I think it's like I
That's
forgot what the
funny.
term is. Like when you have an old build, like a heritage building, I think it's called.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. That's cool.
but that flooded due to a river flood,
Oh,
and it had
damn.
to close down for months for refurbishment. And just as they
Jeez.
were preparing to open it again, it flooded again.
Flooded again.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks.
So I think it's finally open again now, and I think they've actually like backed up the like sewers or whatever the problem was that caused it to flood. So
Mm.
they're actually
Yeah,
prepared now.
thankfully we don't have a lot of natural disasters where I am, which is really nice. But last week was the first time that I had driven and a flash flood happened, which really
Oh,
freaked me out. I don't like thunderstorms, and I can get like panic attacks driving in them because of how afraid I get from like lightning strikes and stuff. But
hmm.
it wasn't anything like that. It was just so much rain. But I was driving on the interstate, and it was like the weirdest thing. I looked on the radar after I'd gotten home, and it's like it was a horizontal cell. So it was like lots of rain, but then there's just this one strip going sideways that was just like all purple on the radar, all severe.
Ah,
So like along, this handful of miles stretch of highway, it was just pounding rain. And then the second it was over, it was just like a snap and it was done. And then it was sunshine. So it was so strange. But I was just driving and I was like, wow, there's a lot of rain. Oh my gosh. And then it got to the point where I had my windshield wipers up at like maximum speed and I was going 10 miles an hour and I couldn't even see the road. Um, but I drove until I saw someone's hazards on the side of the road because it was so bad I couldn't see the shoulder or where to pull off. But I was like, they're
hmm.
pulled off, so I can pull off over there. So I move off to the side. The issue is that since it was like the interstate, there's all these exits merging in, and I couldn't tell if I was going to be pulling off into like where other cars would be coming out
Oh, yeah.
and merging with traffic. But thankfully, I pulled off somewhere safe. But I just waited there for like 5 minutes, and it got clear enough that I could drive. But then it got intense again, and I could literally hear like the water sloshing against the underside of my car. And
Oh,
I was like, "Oh my god!" And it sounded like something had like been torn off my car and was dragging, but it was just all the water.
hmm.
But yeah, it was so scary. It was like, oh my gosh. And then there were just giant puddles afterward that like you couldn't see, and then you drove through them and suddenly it's like your car got tugged to a side. It was
Oh, yeah.
scary.
At least your the bottom of your car got a clean from that, I
No
suppose.
kidding. Cleanest
Um,
it's ever been, I'm sure.
if it helps you feel better, apparently being in the car is the safest place in a thunderstorm
Hmm.
because of the
Because
rubber tires.
rubber
Yeah.
connects with the ground. That makes sense.
Well, it's not like the best place, but like,
No, it's safer being outside, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
Well, if you think about it, like, all the ground's wet. If you're walking through puddles, that's anything for electricity to travel through and connect with you.
Mm, um, just don't be out in a thunderstorm, I guess,
Yeah,
ideally.
try not to get caught out there.
Just hide indoors somewhere.
I've had to drive with like freaking tornadoes descending before. That's pretty fucking scary.
Oh no. Are you in
Usually
like
there's not
a
much rain though when that happens. Oddly enough. There's one time I got off of work and I lived like 20 minutes away. And my dad just called me and he's like, "You have my permission to speed." I was in high
Ah,
school. So I got on the highway and all the sirens were literally already going off. But like everyone on the highway is going like 80 miles an hour, plus in a 65.
ah.
um, but I literally got home and had the time to get inside. We had outdoor like barn cats and stuff, so I like checked on all of them, got animals inside, and then 10 minutes after, the tornado literally descended like 2 miles away from my house.
Oh wow.
So thank God it missed us, but like it was scary.
Is it how often does it happen? Like tornadoes and stuff?
Not very, but like I've definitely seen vortexes a handful of times, but um with my luck thankfully usually they've just kind of dissipated, or the one that landed nearby at that point was only like the lowest possible powerful tornado. So it didn't do more than destroy some trees, and I don't think anyone was really even hurt or injured, so that was good.
Ooh, that's always good to hear.
Yeah.
Um,
Powerful tornadoes though, like man, you go from like trees falling over to like entire houses being decimated. Like some of them literally rip out like foundations. Like even if you're in the basement, you can't be
hmm.
safe, which is terrifying. I like things I can hide from.
Oh yeah, I suppose you'd have to have like a specially built bunker underground or something.
Yeah, it's crazy with some of them. I think usually that only happens when like they directly go over something, but it can some tornadoes, are like 20 miles wide.
Hmm.
Some of them are only like a mile wide and they have a very precise location. You can literally see pictures of like cornfields where there's just a path going through it from where the tornado
Oh no,
was going through. Yeah.
it's just an alien very bad at the
Very bad at using
cornfields.
the controls.
Yeah, trying to make
Yeah, I mean,
symbols, but
there's
ruined it.
videos of like tornadoes coming and like neighbors living in one house will run over to their neighbor's house because they have enough time and their house will get destroyed by the tornado. Because
Oh
like you can
no.
kind of sometimes tell what direction they're heading in. That's how like the storm travelers are able to follow them and be safe.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's so scary. I can't imagine just like being like, I think it's coming directly toward me, so I guess I'll just run outside and hope I can get away. Ugh,
Oh, I've um
scary.
I've read stories online about how there are people online that refuse to leave because of the like they'll evacuate entire towns, but
Yeah.
people will refuse to leave because of looters and stuff. That's when they strike apparently.
Mm. Yeah, I
'Cause
mean, if they want to get the loot and not be able to get out with it.
yeah,
Uh,
I think
yeah.
house fires is another situation where that can happen.
Oh,
But
yeah. I mean, I know abandoned houses where I live, it's very common for people to come and just like steal the copper wiring of the house. So they'll literally like sneak onto people's abandoned houses and like dismantle the electrical meters first, and then they'll just like go into the walls and take out the cables because they can scrap copper for so much money.
that's weirdly specific.
Yeah, I mean, that's a country thing for you.
Ah. I
Uh,
remember hearing about people saying like slate roof tiles at one point.
oh,
But I've
I
never
don't
heard of
even.
copper.
Are those a thing where you are? I don't
Uh,
know if I've ever seen that.
I think
I've
it's like
seen
an old
clay.
thing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
could be.
I
Yeah,
d-
copper and steel, or no, not steel, silver, very
mm.
valuable for any kind of wiring.
I used
But
to
yeah, it's
watch.
literally an issue. It's people they just have only that stolen from their houses. They're like, really?
It's a really inconvenient thing to steal.
Yeah, or
Um,
like pipes and stuff. Gee,
yeah.
thanks. Now I can't have heat or appliances.
Oh, what, is it? Is it still a house? I guess it is still technically a house. I was gonna say I watched. I used to watch a load of those like abandoned place exploring videos.
Ooh, those are
Uh,
interesting.
Yeah, and they went to an old power plant, and there was like a professional scrapper team that weren't meant to be there, but they were just like, "Yeah, we won't tell if you don't tell." So,
That's funny.
but they had like full on. I think there was a storm happening at the time, so they had like big, like are they called like band saws or something? Like the big saws that are really loud. So,
Chainsaw? I
not a
was just thinking of
chainsaw.
like cable cutters and stuff, but
Um, I don't know what they're called, but the big circular saws that you look then
oh,
like.
I think they're like a round saw.
Yeah, I think so. But they had all this like professional equipment just to take all the metal.
Jeez. Get in, get out, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Um,
crazy.
I
Um,
guess they're the true recyclers of the world.
yeah, I mean, um, one man's treasure is another man's treasure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, good that it's being scrapped and reused. I mean, hopefully that's what's happening, I imagine. I imagine they don't pay just to throw it away.
Hmm.
um, yeah, I've explored a few abandoned houses in my time. When I was in college, I took a photography class that we had to make a series of photos for. and I chose to do mine on abandoned houses because I'd just seen so many of them in the country or where I lived. It was mainly like farmhouses.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really fun because like essentially any house that I saw that didn't have a no trespassing sign on it, I was like, well, it doesn't say I can't look at it, so
So,
like go up close and explore. There's one that I went in or like went near, I guess. Started taking photos of, and then I just saw vultures like circling around me. Like that's a bit weird. Wonder why they're circling around me. There must just be something dead around here, I guess. Um, but I had like shown that to my teacher, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you should like do this, this, and this, and try and take a better photo." And I was like, "Okay." So I went back there. It was a house that had been destroyed by a fire. So a lot of it was still standing, but there's like burned like mattresses and stuff that you could see. But I was taking photos again, and I just heard a noise, and vultures came out of the attic of the house.
what the
There
fuck?
was like a busted window, and they just had a nest in there, I guess.
I mean,
So,
somebody's gonna use it, right? So,
yeah, there's just like all these vultures that were just like coming out of the house or sitting in the trees or circling around me as I was taking photos. Like, oh, I'm sorry, please don't attack me. I just want photos.
it's like a Pokemon Snap IRL.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just don't throw apples at them. That's not nice.
To aggravate them.
Yeah. What other abandoned places have you seen? Or was it just houses?
Mainly just houses. I saw one that had like this abandoned house and it had like an old orchard around it with like pears and apples, so I thought that was kind of cool. And then another one another one had like a deer carcass I almost stepped in, which was really fucking gross.
Yeah.
But that one I actually had to go inside because it didn't look like it had any like super obvious damage to it. So I was like, oh, this is probably relatively safe to take a quick tour through. Just saw like some broken tables and stuff. There's one with a fucking crib in it, which was scary as all hell. But yeah, went in that one. I was looking around, and then right as I was about to leave, someone pulled into the driveway behind me and got out of their car, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just taking photos of abandoned houses for like a photography project. Do you want to look at my camera and see?" He's like, "Oh, well, I just want to make sure you ain't no crackhead." I'm like, "Oh my god." Like, is that a problem here? He's like, "They're always coming to my house."
Oh no.
Like, I swear I'm not.
No, I just want the photos.
He's like, oh, "Okay," and he just like left, and I was like, "Well, that was surprisingly easy." I
There
thought he
you
was
go.
gonna like make me delete my photos or something, but I only went there because there was a no trust or there wasn't any no trespassing sign, so it's like, well, doesn't say.
Maybe he should put one up then if he's
He
worried.
might have had cameras, and that's how he knew I was on his property. That was my guess.
Or like motion sensors, I guess.
Yeah, something like that, probably. But yeah, that was a bit awkward. It was kind of crazy though, because like half of the ones that I took photos of were demolished a few months later. So I actually
Ah,
like captured them in their last stand.
that's pretty cool. You should keep them, I guess, as reference or put them somewhere like a local library or something.
Yeah, that would be cool. It's just crazy how many like people inherited their like grandparents' farmhouses and then just left them to rot.
Yeah, I guess if you get something that's like really far away and you don't really have the money to look after it, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess maybe they had trouble selling it, but a lot of people
Hmm.
just keep them and then it just falls apart, which is pretty sad.
Yeah. But
Especially with how expensive housing is now. Like, goddamn, if you want to just
oh
like give
yeah.
that to me just for the sake of me having the land,
That's the
you
big
give away
money
big money.
maker these days apparently is retail.
Yeah, well, a lot of people I think don't even necessarily buy houses for the houses. They just buy it for the land that it's on because they could demolish the house or whatever, fix
Hmm.
it up.
Like if governments want it or something, they have to pay you for it. Stuff like that, I suppose.
Oh yeah, the eminent domain. I think that's what it's called.
I think
I don't
so.
know. Yeah, if they want to like build a highway or an overpass through where you're living, they gotta pay you for it. But who knows if they even pay you anything fair?
I guess it's better than nothing, but we'll see.
Mm.
Uh, I don't own any land that I know of. So what was I gonna go? So art. Since we were on photography, I know you do game overlays.
Yes.
You make a few Vroid VTuber models. Is there any other arts you do?
Um, Basically, I guess aside from those, I can do logos because I made the logo for my Emothic channel, which I suppose isn't on my Twitch page, but it is on my Twitter banner. So I like doing those because those are just as fun as overlays, where they can be like very custom to the person that they're designed for, and can be useful for advertising and banners for all of your social media accounts. But I do those. I'm probably going to be doing Twitch panels too. I am much less a traditional artist than I am a designer, so I'm not good at drawing like people or like emotes and stuff. So I commission my emotes out, and like any art of like my character, that's not my expertise. But basically anything where someone provides me art and is like, could you make a model reveal for me on Twitter, or like a debut announcement ad or something like that. I could do all of that sort of stuff.
So is it more like graphics design, you could say?
Yes, that was my field of study in college.
Ooh.
So
How
that's what
did
I'm
you
better at.
how did you find it?
How did I find graphic design? I went to a high school where they had a very limited amount of art classes, which I think a lot of high schools can. A lot of high schools don't like to invest in art as much as they do their sports teams or, STEM programs. Um, but I took every single art class that I could there, and I was introduced to the Adobe programs like Photoshop and Illustrator when I was like 16. So I just used those to make memes for a really
Ah.
long time, which was really fun. And then I started doing like basic edits for my friends in roleplay communities because they were like, I have a character that I found art for, but this hair is brown instead of blonde. Could you change it? So I would learn to do stuff like that in the programs. But once I was done with high school, I went to community college and was finishing up an associate's degree there, so a 2-year degree. And I had basically only electives to do then because I had done a lot of college classes in high school, so I got to take even more art classes. But I found by doing that, because I took like illustration, painting, so I made like still lifes with charcoal and like oil paintings and stuff. I found that like traditional art wasn't something that I was like super good at or very interested in. But they had a design class there, so I got a little bit more exposure to that. So then I went to university and started studying graphic design because I found that I liked art that it was like a little bit more objective than subjective, because if it's fine art, you can make anything and arguably it's good art, or it's in all these different categories. Design's a little bit more about like pitching something, making it like pleasing to the eye so it might entice people to look at it further, that sort of thing. There's a little bit more structure to it. Um, but then I got to near the end of my graphic design program and had a crisis, and I was like, oh no, I'm just fueling consumer culture and like potentially wastefulness and stuff. And like design kind of doesn't make me feel fulfilled anymore because the objective is like to entice or convince people to buy things that they don't need with potentially money they don't have. So I was like, that doesn't sit well with me. So I ended up looking into more of like user experience design or user interface design, which is like a marriage between software development and website development and graphic design. So it's kind of bringing visuals into the logistics of coding and having a little bit of knowledge of both so that you can kind of work as an intermediary between the two, because when it comes to like making websites or apps, a graphic designer can make something very beautiful, and then the second that it's scaled down to go on an app, it's like, oh, I can't read that beautiful cursive 1-point font anymore. So yeah, it's much more being mindful of that sort of thing. So that was what I was kind of planning to go into a like professional career with doing, either at like a large corporation or specifically a design agency that has clients with different companies. But then the pandemic hit, and I suddenly couldn't get hired. So I ended up
Ah,
turning to VTubing instead,
and now
which I'm
you're here.
ultimately much happier with, I think, than I would be doing the alternative.
So you went away from advertisement to more user experience,
Yeah.
to streaming assets, I suppose.
Yeah, I felt like it was more like fundamentally, or not fundamentally, I don't know, more sound with me to have going from enticing or not kind of like tricking people into buying things with like pretty images that misconstrue the truth versus
Hmm.
how can I make this usable for someone so that if they need to get a plane ticket, instead of going through this extremely frustrating process and ultimately having a mix up where they can just click 3 buttons. It's super easy for them. The font's big enough for them to read. They get their ticket, et cetera, et cetera. That's just like an example, but like making it so that people have a much less harder time using things that they need to do to get a result for that sort of thing.
It's pretty good. It's important to focus on more stuff you enjoy rather than stuff that you are a bit morally not for.
Yeah, and a lot of people have to do both or have to sacrifice aspects of one for the other. I mean, I've
Hmm.
met people where they're like, I will never sacrifice my ways of thinking for anything. I will only ever do what I want to do and I won't hear it any other way. But then it's like they're stuck in situations where they can't, pay rent or something
Hmm.
like that. That's obviously a very extreme example, but and then there's other people where it's like they really have like so many passions and things that they want to do. I mean, you see it a lot with streamers where like people are streaming, every night for 2 hours from like 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. because they work full-time jobs every day
Yeah.
where they can't invest all of their time into doing full-time streaming because it's not sustainable for them, but it's their passion. It is what they want to do. But it comes at a cost of being burnt out from just always working so hard.
It's a hard balance to keep
Hmm.
of working and streaming. Uh,
Definitely.
how do you find it? Or
I've
uh,
never worked a full-time job before because I got my first job when I was 16 in high school, worked throughout high school, saved some money there that I could use for college and like cars and stuff because cars are very expensive. I commuted to and from my college, so it was 2 hours of driving every day that I went to school instead of living there, so that helped me save a little bit of money. But so that was my first job. I ended up being able to quit during 1 year in college because I was so unhappy with my job, but I had enough saved up that it was like financially safe enough for me to do so.
hmm,
And then I ended up getting my current job now. I did an internship for design because I was required to for my degree program, but also I just wanted to get more experience learning how to do some stuff and kind of working in like a real world setting, if you will. So yeah, right after I graduated college, I was probably working 4-ish days a week, 3 to 4, sometimes up to 5, doing my current job. But recently, as in like a month ago, I was finally able to make enough doing streaming and commissions, though it's sporadic income, to be able to dial back to only twice a week at my job, which is really nice. And the goal is to hopefully eventually, keep dialing back and maybe eventually quit. But it's also a job where I'm very thankful, but I'm able to talk to my boss and dial back my hours to even being like a few times a year if necessary. They're
hmm.
very understanding of people having different pursuits aside from the job. So they're willing to work with people if you still want to be an employee because they could use your help and they know that you don't necessarily want to do that job. So it's I guess I'll just like vaguely say what that job is. It's a balance between customer service and physical labor. We'll
Ah,
say. So it can be very taxing on my body, and if I am ever complaining about how sore I am, that is why.
ah.
But it does keep me in shape, so it's nice.
Gotta get swole, get the fitness going.
Yeah, it's certainly a good alternative to constantly sitting at my desk doing stuff for streaming or commissions and whatnot.
How do you find the cooking going?
The
So
cooking?
I've heard if people work a lot and also stream, I've heard they struggle to cook.
Oh, I mean, I cook meals every day. My partner has more than 2 days off usually. I think he either has like 3 or 4. He works 12-hour shifts, so there whenever he's working, he can't really do any like household stuff like dishes or laundry or cooking. So I step up to the plate whenever that needs to be done because I mostly work from home.
Mm.
Um, but there are certain days where like we both have off and it's a lot easier for us to cook because things are so much faster. But essentially, I cook a meal every single evening and every time before I stream, which can be a bit of a rush, but
Uh-uh.
I enjoy cooking. I find it kind of cathartic. The dishes are worse, but um I'm someone who values like saving money and not like going out to get
Mm.
a meal or like buying stuff. So I would rather just cook it myself, and I think homemade meals are just so nice.
What sort of stuff do you like cooking? Do you have a speciality dish?
I cook a lot of Thai food and like
Oh,
Asian-esque, I guess, foods. So like pad Thai, um, ch orange sesame chicken is my favorite dish that I make. But aside from that, I made gyros yesterday. I also do like geez, I'm blanking. Cauliflower wings. I've started doing a little bit more vegetarian stuff. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place. Udon I'll sometimes make. Um, but having vegetarian burgers recently, which are really nice because those are finally good now. I
oh,
remember they weren't when they first started. But those are nice because it's just a frozen patty that I could cook, and I'm like, man, I wish that I had easy meals to begin with because now I'm gonna really want to do easy meals all the time. But
oh no. I've
yeah, um,
heard veggie burgers seem to be a lot more popular recently, from what
yeah.
I've seen.
I mean, they're the same price now, if not cheaper than regular burgers, so I think
Mm.
that's a pretty good win, and they don't taste awful anymore.
I
I
haven't
think
found one.
originally they used to be just like tofu or something.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like, ugh. They
no
got the
more.
texture and the flavor now, though.
I should probably look for some I like. I haven't found any yet, but I
Do you
tried.
have Aldi?
We do actually.
Aldi has a lot of good veggie burgers now.
Ooh,
Maybe not at your locations that you go to, but yeah, I recently checked there and they've got like 5 different kinds of like veggie burgers. I'm like, yes.
I'll have to go in.
Aldi's
It's
fantastic.
just on the edge of town for me, so.
Yeah, ours isn't far either. The only thing that Aldi's a bit sketchy with is their produce. Sometimes I get stuff from there and it's like rotting the next day. I'm like, how did that happen?
Oh yeah.
They have a bit of weird produce, but
Over here, Aldi stuff is stuff from Europe. I don't know if that's the same over there or not.
I think I've heard. Well, I guess I can't speak to like because especially now they're integrating a lot more name brand stuff at least where I am. So it's like Lucky Charms you used to only be able to get at like Walmart or something, but now you can get them at an Aldi instead of like whatever their knockoff cereal would be.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, probably not necessarily all from Europe anymore, but I know they certainly have a lot of things that are. I think one of the things that they still have that they kind of started out having been known for, I guess, at least among my circle of friends, was their chocolate, which I
Ooh.
think comes from like Scandinavia and Germany, or not Scandinavia, Switzerland or Germany.
Is it
Switzerland's the place, isn't it?
Milka
Chocolate.
chocolate?
Yeah, I think they might have that. They have another brand though too, but I know
Lint.
that chocolate's real good because it's not just Hershey's.
Oh yeah, we've heard about Hershey's over here. Uh, you don't really get it here at all unless you go to special American stores or whatever.
That's
Um,
funny.
what about baking? Do you do much baking?
Yeah, I did baking a lot more than I did cooking to begin with. My boyfriend actually taught me how to do most of the cooking I do now, but he basically only taught me like a meal or two, and then I kind of was like, oh, I can find easy dishes. I started out by cooking by looking up mock recipes for things that I like to eat at restaurants because it's like
Ah,
if you know what you like, but you can learn how to make it yourself and save money, then it's like a win all across the board. But yeah, so I've gotten better at cooking over the years because of that, and he thinks that I'm an even better cook than him now, which I think is funny.
ooh,
But I used to only do baking. When we first started hanging out, I would teach him how to bake a dessert, and he would teach me how to cook a meal, which I thought was
ah,
cute. But yeah, I make like cookies, brownies, cakes. I really like making cakes. I'm not intense with like decorating them. I just
hmm.
find it, like I said, like with cooking, to be very cathartic. It's not necessarily as practical as baking. Like you don't need to bake a cake every day to survive. But it always like helped me during college when there's like something really stressful that was happening, like an exam was coming up or a really big project where I was just like, if I can step away from this for like 30 minutes to an hour and just like vigorously mix batter or like punch dough, it's gonna make me feel so much better.
Ooh,
And then you reward yourself with like delicious sweets at the end, so it just works out really well.
that's the best part about it. It's getting the
Yeah.
food at the end.
I used to be really bad at cooking and baking both though. One of my I guess I have two, but I'll just speak about one. I once tried to make box brownies, which only have usually like two or three ingredients. Usually it's like eggs,
Hmm.
water, milk, I don't think usually butter, so that sort of thing. But I tried to make them once and I forgot to put in the egg, so I literally only put in like the oil or the water or both. Mixed the batter, poured it into a pan, put it in the oven, and then like halfway through it cooking, I was like, "Oh my god, I forgot the eggs." So
Oh
I like
shit.
pulled out the pan and mixed eggs into it and then put it back in the oven. And then when it was finished, it came out as just like sludge with scrambled egg.
Uh, oh no.
It was so gross. There was one time I made a birthday cake for a birthday party that I was having. I was so excited because I didn't get to have birthday parties often, so it was like the second ever time that I did. It's like, oh, I'm gonna bake my own cake. It's gonna be wonderful. And I don't know if it was just like the recipe I followed or what, but um, I literally baked the cake for like 2 hours and the whole like with all of that baking, because when you pull it out, they tell you to put like a toothpick in the middle or something, and then if it comes out clean, it's cooked in the middle. It kept
Hmm.
coming out not clean, so I ended up with this cake that solidified into a brick by the time it was done cooling, with like pudding on the inside.
Oh shit.
And I have no idea how it happened. And like my friends literally couldn't even like bite through the cake, like the outer shell. So they were like eating the inside and they're like, it's good. I'm like, don't lie to me.
you've
My
you've
true friends wouldn't lie to me. They tell me it's an awful cake.
oh no, oh no. You've invented a new form of dessert somehow.
Yeah, you really gotta work to get to it.
Sludge cake or something.
Yeah. It's
So
almost like a lava cake.
ah, don't know if I've ever tried those.
Oh, they're good. Those recipes aren't too hard.
Hmm. I'm
They're
guessing
only
it's
worth
just
eating when they're hot though, because otherwise it's not molten chocolate on the inside.
oh yeah. That so loses the appeal if the volcano's not erupting.
Yeah, a little bit. It'll still taste good, but it won't be quite as fun.
Hmm. Is there anything you haven't done yet but would really like to bake or cook?
I want to try. I don't know if it counts as baking. I think it does. Tiramisu. I think it's a bit more of like a custard sort of thing.
Hmm.
I'd like to make that. I suddenly like pies now. I used to hate cooked fruit, but since I've gotten older, my taste buds have just changed, and suddenly I'm okay with it and actually like it. Um, so I might try and make pies at some point. I think
Oh.
that would be fun. As for cooking, I don't know. I want to get better at sushi. I know that's not cooking. I
Hmm.
sometimes make sushi, like sashimi, so it's like just the strips of fish over rice and like a bit of wasabi. But I want to try making hand rolls, so that would be
Oh.
fun.
Forget the seaweed and the roller.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called. Like,
The wooden bamboo rollers, they kind of look
yeah,
like blinds. Yeah, I want to get one of those and learn how to use that.
just gotta be extra careful with the safety, I suppose, of the stuff.
Probably, yeah, you gotta pack it in.
Yeah,
Make sure it doesn't slip out.
stay away from the
Um,
fogy fish as well.
yeah, you gotta be
Uh,
really careful about what kind of fish you use for that.
mm.
Apparently, it has to be like sushi safe fish has to be like frozen at negative 30 degrees or something when it's transport or whatever, because like it has to be stored in a certain way where it doesn't have the risk of developing parasites, because that's,
Oh
the
yeah.
risk of having raw meat is that you can get like foodborne illness from that sort of thing. But like most freezers don't store things at that cold of a temperature.
Mm.
So, if you go to a grocery store, the fish there wouldn't necessarily be safe to consume raw, or at least in a way that they could tell you it is legally. So you usually have to go to like a fishmonger and stuff. Where I live,
Yeah.
there's not very many of those, so it makes it a bit difficult. But I could still make like salmon or tuna, which are very basic, but it's a lot cheaper to make your own sushi than it is to eat out, even at the cheapest restaurants.
I've heard like a majority of fish is kept at like -30 to
Mhm.
kill all the parasites. So even if you are buying fresh fish, it's technically not fresh because it's been frozen. But for safety
Yeah,
reasons,
that's
of
the thing
course.
too, is the frozen aspect has something to do with it as well. I think maybe it's like you have to freeze it immediately. I'm not sure.
I don't think it has to be immediately, but like yeah, it's to kill off parasites and
Yeah.
nasty stuff.
So there's a bit of an art to it, and you definitely have to be careful and kind of know what
Mm.
you're doing. But if you go to any place that sells sushi safe meat, then you kind of don't need to know what you're doing because it's going to be fine as long as you
Yeah,
eat
yeah.
it within the day. You don't want to store that because then it's at risk of getting it.
Ah, yeah. Don't wanna find a wiggly thing in your sushi.
Oh no, that'd be
Not ideal.
gross. Blech.
But what about gardening? A little birdie told me you like garden.
I love gardening. um, right now I live in an HOA, so or I'm renting, I guess, from an HOA. So they have a policy where you can't like put things in the lawn out front.
Oh
Um,
no.
so you can't like even pitch like volleyball nets or like tents or anything like that, and you can't garden. So I'm growing everything on a deck,
Oh.
in like pots and planters. But I used to grow things kind of in the ground when I was still living with my parents. But yeah, so I've lately gotten very invested in gardening, which gardening's kind of a weird hobby because it's infinitely more expensive than it is getting the reward.
Oh
Because
yeah.
if you grow like a tomato plant, you spend like anywhere from $1 to $2 for a packet of seeds. Only use like three of them, in any given pot, maybe. And then spend money watering them. You have to spend like $20 on a bag of soil, possibly fertilizer. So
Hmm.
it's like already there. You've got like $25 for like tomatoes that might not even survive or like produce well.
Oh
Versus,
yeah.
like spending a few bucks on them in the store. But it's all just about like the fact that you get to grow something and watch it live. I don't know. It's very exciting. But I'm starting to do houseplants more often. My stepmom gave me a handful of houseplants,
Ooh.
including a banana tree, a baby palm tree, and a peace lily. I recently found out that that plant is not, in fact, called generic house plant. It's a peace lily. So I just
Oh.
walked around the corner I had it in a few weeks ago, and I was like, "There's a flower."
Oh.
It's cute because my banana tree is having little babies as well, so all my plants are somehow getting pollinated, even though they're only ever indoors. I don't know how that works.
Well, I think they can. I think they can do it themselves sometimes. I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about plant biology.
I did find a tree frog living in my banana tree over the winter.
Oh
It was just
wow.
on the floor of my house, and I was like, "What are you doing here?"
How did that get in?
I think that it just like got on the plant in the fall and came inside the house. But the crazy thing is that I moved that tree from my stepmom's house in my car to our place. So not
Mm.
only did it get on the tree, to get into her place, but it also survived the transport journey from her place to ours. I think he woke up during hibernation though, so I felt really bad.
Oh no. It's got a new pet now. Look after the frog.
Oh, I think he died.
Oh no.
I put him back in the tree, but I haven't seen him since, so I think he might have just like buried himself permanently.
Oh no. Unless he's
Really
gone
sad.
somewhere else.
Yeah, but now he gets to stay with the plant that he loves and I suppose become a part of it in a greater sense.
Hmm. Gone back to nature.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm doing more stuff with houseplants now. I don't really know much about them, and they can be very picky. That's the crazy thing. Crazy thing about plants is like they're everywhere in nature, and obviously they have to be able to survive. But like, goddamn, do they need a lot of maintenance? It's
Oh
like
yeah.
I need precisely this much sunlight for this many hours of the day at this specific range of temperature with this much water and this soil acidity, not to mention this kind of soil. If you put me in soil that doesn't drain well, I'm not going to be happy. It's just like all of this list of things that they want, and then it's like they still die even if you give them what you want. Like, how do you survive in the wild?
It's
I don't know.
pickier than pets in a way.
They really are. I mean, if you overwater them, they can get like you could have a pot that has like good drainage and stuff so the water can get out if they're not able to like soak it all up right away, and it can get like root rot in the
Oh
pot from
no.
it not being drained enough, and then like you have to essentially salvage your plant and no pun intended, but also completely intended, transplant it to another pot
Oh,
and try to save it.
doing plant SOS. Give
Yeah,
it life support.
basically. Don't worry, little guy, you're gonna make it through, and then its leaves start wilting, and you're like, oh no!
No. We need the defibrillator.
It is funny though, because like sometimes plants can seem completely far gone, and there's just like a little, tower of crumbly leaves, and then you walk back 2 weeks later, and there's a sprout, and you're like, the fuck?
Yeah, there's a lot of
Time to try again.
yeah, plants tend to I don't know if they do it intentionally or not, but they kill parts of themselves
Hmm.
to like save itself. I guess that's what trees do with their leaves. They just
Mm,
kill them
yeah,
off at the end and then they'll grow back.
or branches.
Mm.
Well, it's like with plant seeding is they only seed when they think that they're dying or they're going to die. So like a lot of like right now my basil plants for an example, I planted them or I brought them outside in like May or June, and it's almost the end of July and they're already like crazily trying to have seeds and flowers. If you pick off the flowers and the seeds, they'll keep growing, but they'll keep trying to produce seeds. So, like, if you want to get the most use out of like your herbs, you have to keep picking off their seeds until it's almost
Ah.
the end of their season. Then you let them finally have flowers, and then the bees get to pollinate them, and move on. And then your basil plants can die, or whatever plants. But you can't do that with everything because, like, basil's an herb, so it's safe to do that because you eat the plant's leaves. But if you have like a tomato plant and it's flowering, you don't want to pick off the flower because that's what becomes the fruit.
Ah.
So
Gotta know your plants.
yeah, there's a little bit of thinking to it.
What what plants are you hoping to get in the future if possible?
I want to cultivate mushrooms at some point. I think that'd be
Oh.
cool.
Can't you do that
You
in
don't even.
like a wardrobe or something?
Well, at least where I am, I know that you have to like get a certification to do it, and it's very difficult to get a certification because there's only like one place that does it seasonally. So they have like
Hmm.
a fall course and a spring course to train you in different kinds of mushrooms for each season. I think each one's like $200, which I would totally pay for if like I was able to actually go to the class, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's available right now because of COVID still. But
No.
once you get that certification, you can harvest sell and grow whatever those mushrooms are that you're trained in identifying. So I think that'd be really fun to eventually cultivate them. It's like you just feed them dead things, I guess.
Hmm.
Feed them your compost, they probably love that. And put it in the shade. It's kind of just like the anti-plant when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like overwater it as much as possible, basically only give it shade. Give it dead things instead of, well, I guess they like fertilizer and dead things, plants do, but
Hmm.
those would be exciting.
So weird. It's weird that they need a course to look after when plants are harder.
Yeah. It'd be fun though. I want to eventually do more foraging and stuff. I've done a little bit. I was
Ooh.
really excited because I found morel mushrooms for the first time a few months ago in the spring. Um, they're like they're essentially the equivalent of like a European truffle in
Hmm.
terms of their value. Not nearly as valuable, but it's the most expensive like mushroom I think that you could basically find in America. Um, but I found one of those, which is really exciting. People are like, if you just look for it, you will find it. And then it got to the point where I was like, I'm not gonna find it. I've been looking and looking and looking, and then literally when I was about to give up, I looked down and I saw one, and I was like, oh.
There you go. It's fate. You
Yeah,
got it.
that was really fun though. It tasted like rotisserie chicken, which is kind of
Oh,
crazy.
I have heard there's some mushrooms that taste like meat and chicken and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage anyone who doesn't like mushrooms because of their texture or their flavor to try to get your hands on any foraged mushrooms because those things can be really good.
Hmm. There used to be in an old town I used to live in. There was a farmer's market, and one guy would come up, and he would like sell things that he foraged. And I think every few weeks he does like a trip, and he takes people out
Oh,
to show you what you
that's
can
what I
get.
want to do. I want to be like the woodland elf that's like sitting there, and then people are like, "Can you help me find mushrooms?" I'm like, "Come hither, my child." Lead
Ooh,
them into the forest and show them where the mushrooms are, or sell them
mushrooms,
at a
I think.
farmer's market and stuff. That'd
I
be
guess
really fun.
that's the next best thing. Is you can go dressed as an elf to
Oh, that'd
the
be fun.
farmer's market.
Full on cosplay. Just look like Gandalf, have my staff.
Hell yeah! You shall not skip the queue.
Oh, that'd be fun though.
It's good. It's good stuff. But yeah, we're coming up to 2 hours now. So
Mm.
we'll start wrapping up. If anyone in the chat has any questions,
Ooh, yes. That'd be
that
fun.
would be a good time to ask. We may have had a few, but I didn't get a chance to look at them.
See if I can scroll it all.
But yeah.
It's funny because my Vroid model is mirrored, but since you are using like a capture of my mirrored model, it's actually looking the opposite direction.
Ah. So I
So
could.
like even though I'm looking to the right, toward your model, kind of on the stream, I'm looking to the left, and now that I'm looking toward, off to the side, it's looking at your model. So
I
like
could
that's
have fixed
interesting.
that. Because for some people I have to flip it. There you go.
Ah.
Now you're facing. It's a bit late. It's 2 hours late. But now
Oh,
you're
you're right. You're
facing the
right.
right way.
Oh wait, am I? There we
Um,
go. Lag on the stream. Now we are.
there you go.
See if there's
But
any
yeah,
questions.
I don't know. I
There
think
was
they're
one
all
that was like VTuber mukbang.
VTuber mukbang. I'm not sure.
I
That was
hate what noises are like people eating food, so I wouldn't be able to stand that.
is that. Yeah, I suppose that's. I know there's ASMR eating that is focused on the noises, but I wasn't sure
Mhm.
if mukbang. I guess maybe some people are. I saw one once of somebody eating honeycomb, just like raw honeycomb. That was
Oh,
an
can't say I
experience.
haven't done that before, but man, the
Ah,
wax is like kind of gross.
do you eat the wax?
I tried it once because I thought it would be exciting. And I was like, this isn't very pleasant as a texture because it gets like stuck to your tongue and stuff. Um, so I wouldn't do that again. Sure.
Hmm.
It was fun to try once though.
Yeah, as long as you've tried it and now you know. So I think that's worth it.
I don't
Um,
think I'd be brave enough to try the raw egg. I've heard of people doing that.
oh yeah,
Like crack it into their mouth and swallow it. I'm like, ugh.
I think that's like a muscle building thing for the protein or whatever.
Really? Huh.
Um, I know I think it's like a stereotype, but apparently like adding it into drinks is like a hangover cure. Apparently, I don't know.
Weird.
That might be just like a meme or whatever.
Folklore.
Yeah. But I'm just looking for someone to raid. Is there anyone you'd like to raid or?
Oh, let me see. Open up my full window here. Not necessarily. Do you have anyone in mind?
There's always people I can go for. Samu is the weeb queen, as I like to call her, because she knows everything about anime.
Well,
Um, I'm just seeing,
it takes a lot of knowledge.
yes. But yeah, we'll rate her in a bit. But yeah, is there any questions you have or anything you'd like to say before we start wrapping up?
Mm, let me think. I don't think so. I guess I'll plug myself very briefly. I do have a
Yeah, go for it.
Twitter account aside from Twitch, so you can check me out at either of those. I guess I'll just throw my name in the chat. People probably know how to spell it because there's a banner. Oh,
Yeah, I
and I
can
could
also
also
set you out.
plug the
Yeah.
commission website, perhaps. Let me see. Oh, I must have sent it at the beginning here. Let me pull that up. Yes, so I do Vroid model commissions, logos, stream overlays, all sorts of good stuff. Social media ads. I'm losing my Twitch window.
Yeah,
There it is. There's that. Yeah. And I also do pieces of Vroid models. So if you make all of your model and then you decide making the hair just isn't for you, I can do just the hair for you or something like that. So
ah,
and I do give people who request them working files. So if they, you know, I can create like a dress for you. And if you decide you want to learn Vroid later on and change the color of your dress, you will be able to do that. So I'm all
ooh.
for encouraging people to learn the programs themselves, but to assist them in doing so.
I think the with my first model, I tried making it, but I struggled with the hair, so I commissioned someone
Mm.
to just touch it up a bit. There's a lot you can do with Vroid. It's very surprising.
Yeah, hair can be a challenging one. Then you can make expressions from hair, glasses, all sorts of weird stuff.
That's the secret of Vroid is it's all
Ah,
um,
yeah, it is. It is all hair. It's the
it's all
only
hair.
thing that you can create in the program. So,
I think they'll probably add more features in the future.
oh yeah, I'm
Hopefully,
sure.
that's the nature of VTubing being very new, I suppose.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you
Um,
for having me. It's been
we
very fun.
we learned a lot about haunted houses, tornadoes, flooding, cooking, plants.
We did talk about flooding, didn't we?
Yeah. But yeah, it's been good. Been a pleasure having you. Go watch Emothic. I think I pronounced it correct that time.
Yeah, you did. Good job.
What's your next stream gonna be?
I'm thinking about doing a Vroid art stream for a commission I'm working on Monday, possibly Portal 2 next Thursday, and probably just like Stardew Valley next Saturday. We'll see. Schedule will be up tomorrow on Twitter.
Ooh. But yeah, go watch Emothic if you're interested in such things. I'm gonna start the raid. I
Sounds
never
great.
know how to end my streams. How do you usually end your streams?
About the same way as you're doing yours.
Ah,
I
okay.
cannot do it gracefully. I'm always just like, so thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Until the next stream, which I haven't done my next schedule. I don't know when it is yet.
We'll figure it out.
But yeah, thank you everyone. Bye bye.
Goodbye, and thank you for having me.